that is what we call in the industry getting mocked.
If there is one thing you can plan on, it's that not everything will go to plan. And we learned that lesson the hard way. Taking what we knew about War of the Lions PvP and putting a tournament-ready roster to the test proved that we still have a long way to go before we have a winning formula on our hands. In this video, we will look at our most recent live PvP match, dissecting the fight so we can get to the bottom of what went wrong and discover the lessons learned from the experience. Hi, I'm Mikey from Tactics Live Tournament, and I'm glad you could join me, hand in hand, for another step on our road to victory, a video series documenting my progress and completion of the first War of the Lions tournament hosted by Tactics League. In our first episode, we proposed a tournament-ready roster based on a high-level strategy centered around strong leaders and supporting troops. Then, we put our execution to the test against 2 live opponents in the following video. Today, we're going to derive key takeaways from those matches that will inform us in constructing a new roster to test, and one that will hopefully lead us to our first victory. Overall, our strategy did not work in our favor. Relying solely on our general to lead us to victory meant putting all of our eggs into one basket, and disregarding any contributions that our loyal troops had to offer, at least offensively. And offense is where our party mainly struggled. We spent most of our time trying to come back from early deficits, where our opponent could isolate a unit and KO them quickly. This was due in part to a large speed discrepancy between our units and our opponents, allowing them to take more turns and giving them more opportunities to stymie my plans. Our faith-based casting as a backbone to our strategy showed us that waiting for spells to finish was more of a liability than something that we could plan for. Our equipment choices served as a double-edged sword, as our opponent could easily use the same faith-based magics against us to great effect. Looking now at individual units' performance, let's start with Mustadio. He was not as effective of a leader as we had hoped, often having a first turn with nothing to do. Lacking survivability meant we couldn't utilize his high speed in later turns. And how about our tank, Delita? His survivability was notable, and we were able to set up Cup of Life successfully with him. Our weak offense continued to pervade through to our general here, and our Holy Sword proved ineffective when we ran out of MP. Reyes did give us a glimpse of heavy damage output thanks to Unholy Sacrifice. Without additional hard-hitting troops to pressure our opponent, Reyes' efforts were mitigated, and any units we KO'd had ample opportunities to come back and get their revenge. Turning now to our troops' performance, we start with our Geomancer, who actually performed the best in the roster. She did her job in the opening stages of battle, bestowing buffs, and managed to get big hits in. Her early KOs meant we had to rely on the innate re-raise undead units get, but at a 50% success rate, which we did not get lucky on. Our White Mage was a bit disappointing as we struggled to get good opening casts off and were constantly on the back foot. Our Cup of Life strategy was inconsistent and required a lot of coordination to execute, which prevented us from being able to react to our opponent effectively. Let's look at our Mystic, who seems to have promise, but like our White Mage, fell victim to long cast times that were then mitigated by well-equipped targets. A buff to our allies here and there was not enough to move the needle in battle when we couldn't use our debuffs to great effect. Finally, our Black Mage definitely found it difficult to provide value as a Cup of Life activator and as an offensive caster. Our opponents came to battle ready for elemental attacks, and her slow cast times meant getting set up with Golem was risky, and limited her options throughout the fight. Well, that was tough to rewatch, so thankfully we have some key takeaways now to use moving forward, and we won't ever have to come back to this again. To summarize what we learned. First, we need to have an equal balance between our general and our troops, so we don't put all of our eggs in one basket. Relying only on our general to do damage puts too much pressure on one unit to succeed. Second, we really need to work on our offensive capabilities in all phases of the game, and we need more chances to act by increasing speed across the board. Getting buffed can only take us so far. And third, we need more than faith-based casting to see us through to victory. And if we do have any casting, it needs to happen way faster. Now, let's take these lessons and put them to good use as we rebuild our roster. Let's apply what we took away from our live matches to our roster, starting with Mustadio, who struggled in the early game. We're going to switch him to a thief for more bulk while still retaining the ability to equip ranged weapons, so we can take advantage of aimed shot. We threw on Poison Bow instead of Fomalhaut, losing 2 range, but gaining the chance of inflicting blind or poison. We swapped out Brigand's Gloves for Steadfast Ring for that early game invulnerability, as our speed was over the top and speed 16 is more than enough. Auto Potion has been changed for Reflexes for maximum physical evasion since we're keeping equipped shields. Onto Delita, who we want to be tanky still but more punishing offensively. Let's switch him from a Knight to a Dark Knight, only swapping Cup of Life for critical recover HP. Less emphasis is going to be put on him, keeping him at full health for the sole reason of Cup of Life triggering, hopefully freeing him to do more devastation to our opponent. In an effort to boost our HP and still nullify common debuffs, we've changed our equipment around significantly. We'll swap out a 2-handed Durandal for a Sword and Board, Diamond Sword and Crystal Shield, which gives us innate Protect and Shell. Our helm is now Grand Helm for immunity to Blind and Sleep, our armor Maximilian for immunity to Poison and Stone, and we've gone with Guardian Bracelet for immunity to KO, Stop, Immobilize, and Disable. Reyes performed well in our playtest, but we do see an opportunity to give her some debuff protection now that Ribbon is freed up. We will have to accept that her damage with Unholy Sacrifice will suffer a bit from the drop in HP, but now she's pretty much unstoppable. Before we continue on to the troops, the Tactics League PvP mod allows you to change the name of your generic units, which I've gone ahead and done, since we will be swapping jobs and referring to them by their primary job name is going to get a little confusing. Anyways, on to the roster rebuild. Let's look now at our troops and changes we made, starting with our Geomancer, now named Emeralda. She was definitely outputting a lot of damage thanks to all that cursed gear, but without being able to receive healing, we relied on the chance she would come back to life on her own. That was a mistake, so now we've turned her towards more survivability at the expense of MA. She now holds a Sleep Blade for immunity to Sleep and Berserk, a Genji Shield for some magic evasion, Lambent Hat for speed and MA, Lowly Robe for the innate Protect and Shell, and Imperial Armband for the little speed boost and beneficial immunities. Her abilities have otherwise been unchanged. Our White Mage has been renamed to Elheim and changed to a Time Mage since they have innate swiftness. I expect her beneficial spells to be happening much faster now. Speaking of which, we've swapped out the heavy armor for lighter gear, namely Thief's Cap and Mirage Vest, both of which offer important debuff protection and speed boosts. Since Sage's Ring is now available, we'll put that on her and keep Cup of Life. While Elheim is more fragile now that she has less HP, though Arcane Defense is notable, she should be a more effective caster overall. We're going to try out some new units in this latest playtest, subbing out our Mystic, now named Maria, for a male Dragoon named Rico. He is geared for tanky offensive power, equipped with Javelin 2, Venetian Shield to mitigate basic elemental magics, Grand Helm, and Maximilian for those sweet HP and immunities. And we're using Septieme to get our speed up to 13 for that 4-tick jump timing. For abilities, we have items as our secondary, just in case we need a quick spot heal or revive, earplug to keep us safe from speechcraft, arcane defense, and life font to keep us topped up on HP. It is worth noting that Dragoons come with innate safeguard as an extra layer of protection. We will be switching out our black mage, named Miang, with a male squire named Bart. Bart is our wild card as he comes with innate re-equip. This will allow us to start the match off with gear that will boost his speed, then he can switch it out at a later turn once he's gotten into a better position. Squires have naturally high movement, so I'm going to lean into that and give him throw as a secondary ability, bolstered by move +2. He has first strike as a reaction, since I plan on switching his weapon to a crossbow and dual wield in case I want to use a book and shield, mace and shield, book and sword, or whichever combination suits me best at the time. To start off each battle, I have speed boost and gear, battle bamboo, black cowl, which also gives him invisibility, ninja gear, and brigand's gloves. Excellent. Our squad is gathered and built for battle, but are there newfound combinations of abilities, equipment, and more offensive strategy overall is up to the task of leading us down the road to victory? For a quick test against monsters, we're going to look at Mustadio, who still kept the high speed and debuff application. Reflexes was a good choice to help avoid damage. Delita proved to be rather useless without high speed, high movement, or ranged abilities, probably due to the map we played on. Further testing will be needed to see if he is improved. Reyes starts off strong as usual with Mincing Minuet and still finishes strong with Unholy Sacrifice, even with a diminished HP. Emeralda continued to serve as an opening support unit, then using Iaido for heavy magic damage. Her Geomancy definitely did not hit as hard, so we will see if her defenses will help keep her alive so she can deliver more value versus being dead. Elheim is up for review, who notably had a much easier time casting opening spells like YoshnJa with swiftness available. Even with faster casting, she was still vulnerable to attack, as her HP pool is considerably lower. While she did have decent healing power and was able to cast higher level heals thanks to swiftness, her lack of faith saw her missing some crucial spells. Our first new unit, the Dragoon Rico, came out the gate swinging. When his jumps weren't necessary or would take too long, he was more than happy stabbing with his spear or supporting our fragile healer with revives and MP. Lastly, Bart, our nimble squire, who starts the battle with speed enhancing equipment only for us to switch it up depending on our opponent. When he's not re-equipping himself, we can throw thanks to our enormous movement range, which, coincidentally, came in handy to get ourselves into advantageous positioning for unleashing our dual-wielded ranged attacks. That will do it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed and learned from the analysis, and are looking forward to seeing this new roster's performance as much as I am. If you've made it this far, throwing out a like to say thanks is a great way to support the channel. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing to help us fulfill the mission of spreading the word to Tactics multiplayer to more people. More people participating means you'll have an easier time finding a partner or opponent. So be sure to share this or another of these episodes with a friend who might be interested in playing. And lastly, huge shout out to Tactics League, the one-stop shop for all of your multiplayer needs. Whether you need help setting up your UMD to get backed up to play this amazing PvP mod, or you need a partner to play with, or folks to share your tactics stories with, the Tactics League Discord is your meeting place for any and all of these. Check out the links in the description for more information, and I hope to see you there soon. This is Mikey from Tactics Live Tournament signing off. I will see you in the next episode. And until then, be well, everyone.